Welcome. Airplanes are a very popular means of transport and many world records are associated with them. We will tell you about the most interesting ones in this video. Every day, around 100,000 flights take place around the world. A plane lands or takes off every 2 to 3 seconds, and there are about 8,000 to 9,000 planes in the sky at any one time. Hundreds of millions of people travel by plane every year, but many of them still have a fear of flying. If you are one of them, then the statistics should reassure you, because there is only one accident in 1 million flights and the probability of death is 1/8 millionth. It is reassuring, but not for everyone. When flying an airplane, people usually don't think much about how the engine works. An aircraft engine is probably the most important component of an aircraft and therefore must be properly tested to ensure that the newly developed aircraft can safely take to the air. There are several interesting criteria according to which turbofan jet engines used in commercial aircraft are tested. First, they are tested for scapula detachment. The test resembles an explosion to some extent. The engineer's job is not to get the aircraft to continue normal flight. In this case, the main thing is to ensure that fragments of the engine do not damage the hull of the nacelle. This is important because otherwise the fragment could penetrate not only the shell, but also the fuel tank located in the wings. With one damaged engine, the plane can still land, but the rapidly leaking fuel is another serious problem. The turbine is tested for waterproofness, which is necessary so that flying in a storm is not a problem. The aircraft engine is also tested for durability and strength by throwing hard objects at it. The paddles should easily cut them and keep running. In this case, you might have thought to yourself that the test is being done because birds often suck on those blades. Modern aircraft can easily withstand small birds in the engine. Sometimes such collisions pose no danger. In most cases, however, pilots are certain that if a collision occurs during takeoff, the flight is immediately stopped, the aircraft inspected and, if necessary, repaired. Usually everything goes well and the plane takes off again, but sometimes more serious situations occur. Accidents most often occur during takeoff or landing. This is logical given that birds stay low to the ground. 75% of accidents occur at altitudes up to 300 meters, 20% occur at altitudes between 300 and 1500 meters, and only 5% of accidents occur at higher altitudes. In addition, birds also crash into the cockpit, but this only occurs in 12% of all cases. 45% of the time birds get into the engine. Of course, the designers took this possibility into account during development, but the fact is that sometimes even the best engines stop in such a case. The most famous story with a feathered bird took place in 2009 in North America. An Airbus A320 plane took off from a New York airport and collided with a flock of birds. As a result, both engines stopped. The pilot immediately made the only correct decision and landed on the surface of the Hudson River. The landing went well. All 155 people on board survived. Many would have panicked in such a situation, but this man turned out to be a true hero. Now it's time for records. Meet this is the GE9115B motor, the largest jet motor in the world. It will be used mainly in the new Boeing 777X wide-body aircraft, one under each wing. In the front of the engine there is a fan with a diameter of 3.5 meters. If we calculate the distance of the edge of the opposite blades. If you stand on the edge of the gondola, even with your hand extended upwards, you will not be able to touch the tip of your fingers on the upper edge. The 7.5 meter long one weighs about 8 tons and can develop a thrust of 47.5 tons, which corresponds to 95 tons for the Boeing 777X. In addition, during tests, the engine was able to develop a thrust of 60 tons, which is a record among jet engines. If you've ever flown on a plane, you've probably been tired during the flight, because spending 3 to 4 hours in a cramped space is challenging. But what about spending a whole extra day on the plane without changing seats? It seems like real hell, but there were also such cases. On the 10th of November 2005, a Boeing 777-200LR completed the longest non-stop flight from Hong Kong to London. The flight was 21,602 kilometers long and lasted 22 hours and 40 minutes. In order to set the record, the pilots did not fly from east to west, but from west to east, which more than doubled the distance. It can only be imagined that only 2 pilots could have managed the flight. Therefore, it was on board 8 pilots and they rotated regularly, and there were also 27 passengers, including 2 top managers from Boeing Corporation and also representatives of General Electric. Of course, to journalists from all over the world, this was a unique case. However, the least impressive flight between Singapore and New York is now operated on a scheduled route. At the same time, it is the longest commercial flight in the world. You have to spend more than 18 hours on the plane. The plane will fly up, fly over Asia, the Pacific Ocean and fly over Alaska, fly over Canada and finally land in New York. The flight is provided by the Airbus A350-900 and is equipped with excellent comfort spaces for passengers that are well taken care of. It would be hard to imagine enduring such a long flight in an ordinary plane with uncomfortable seats, narrow aisles and endless queues for toilets. You may be wondering how a plane can fly for 18 hours without running out of air and nobody actually opens the windows. In fact, the air you breathe in an airplane is supplied from the engine through compressors. All aircraft are equipped with a special device that reduces atmospheric air gathering in the immediate vicinity of the deck. The onboard air supply system is complex and consists of 3 parts. The first maintains pressure, the second provides ventilation, and the third provides comfortable temperature and air conditioning. The problem with air on board an airplane is insufficient humidity. This is why flight attendants offer passengers cold drinks and water. After all, at high altitude, the body is particularly susceptible to dehydration. Many of you are probably wondering which is the largest commercial aircraft in the world. It's not a Boeing as you might think, but an Airbus A380 wide-body double-decker, 4-engine jet plane. It is the largest mass-produced transport aircraft. It is 24 meters high, 73 meters long and has a wingspan of 79 meters. The fuselage is impressive, and not only because of its size, the Airbus A380 is a very luxurious aircraft. It has 2 floors. Inside some airliners you will find bars, gyms and casinos. Airbus is also incredibly powerful. It can fly more than 15,000 kilometers non-stop. Even the speed of the Airbus is not low. 900 kilometers per hour is not bad, but it is far from reaching the values of the fastest aircraft of the Lockheed State Route 71 aircraft. It is a strategic reconnaissance aircraft of American supremacy. In 1976, when its production reached its peak, it broke one of the speed records of 3,530 kilometers per hour, which is almost 3 times the speed of sound. They are virtually impossible to track and almost impossible to hit with a missile. In addition, it is able to climb up to a height of 26 kilometers. By comparison, large civilian aircraft usually fly at a height of 9 to 12 kilometers. This plane also attracts attention. It seems that it is equipped with some kind of super weapon to destroy the whole city, but it is not so. The Explorer is not intended for combat, but for taking aerial photographs. Today, the Blackbird is no longer in production. It was retired in 1998. 23 units were produced. And now the phenomenal record of a flight lasting 2 months. Yes, it's hard to believe, but it happened. This amazing record was created by a Cessna 172 piloted by Bob Tim and John Koch in 1958, who wanted to break the world record for the longest non-stop flight. At that time, it was 46 days. The pilots then wanted the record that they stayed in the air 18 days longer, i.e. 64 days, 22 hours and 19 minutes. For so long they did not feel solid ground under their feet. While one was driving the plane, the other was resting. It was more complicated with fuel and food supplies. The plane had to descend heavily, reduce speed and get on the same level as the plane carrying supplies, but still the flight lasting 64 days was a complete success. Everyone achieved what they wanted. Bob and John entered the Guinness Book of Records and got a nice honorarium. For more than half a century, this record remains unbeaten, although airplanes have become much more comfortable and safer during that time. Perhaps this can be explained that technology is not the most important thing in such adventures, but to agree to voluntarily conquer in the air for 2 whole months, one really has to be a little crazy for that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a new video.